So it's coming down to the finishing details for our Timberframe sauna. In this video, I'm going to cover making a small mirrored cabinet in the change room to cover the electrical panel, as well as making some peg rails for hanging robes and towels. For the towel hooks, I used some pegs that we had left over from raising the frame. I wanted the pegs angled upward at 30 degrees, so I cut a simple wedge using my miter saw, and then used that to guide the pegs through the bandsaw to cut them in half. For the mounting rails, I used a 3-inch scrap of pine that was left over from the frame. I used my bandsaw to rip that into 1-inch thick boards. I left these rough to match the rough surface of the frame itself, but used my jointer to make one face flat for mounting to the walls. To cut the holes in the mounting rails, I made a small table angled at 30 degrees to match the angle cut on the pegs. I then drilled 3/4 inch holes using a Forstner bit mounted in my drill press. Here I'm using a drill and countersink bit to pre-drill for the mounting screw. I'll use a 3/8 inch plug cutter in the drill press to cut some face grain plugs that will cover the mounting screw holes. For the mirrored cabinet, I'm using the same Eastern white cedar I've been using throughout the sauna project. The basic cabinet is made up of 3/4 inch boards, joined at the corners using dovetails. For the dovetails, I used my Lee dovetail jig. The simple plywood box you see here, I just used to elevate the dovetail jig to a comfortable working height so I can see it while I'm working. I first cut the tails using a 10-degree dovetail bit, and then the pins are cut using a 5/16 inch straight bit. At some point, I'll probably make a more detailed video of using the Lee jig, but I'm sure there are good videos out there already on YouTube. For the mirror door of the cabinet, I'm using a mortise and tenon frame and panel construction. In this video, I just show a time lapse. If you're interested in the details of how I do this, you could watch a previous video where I build a cedar chest using the same basic techniques. I'll include a card in the link above. After the glue dries, I cut the door to fit the opening in the cabinet, leaving about 1/8 of an inch of clearance on all sides. Then I attach a couple of small cleats to the back of the cabinet with some glue and brads. Those cleats will be used to mount the cabinet to the wall. The cabinet has a false back that is actually a door that opens to reveal the electrical panel. I made the door using 1/2-inch rails and stiles joined with lap joints, and then covered with 1/4-inch slats that are joined at the edges with a bead and code joint. I turned a simple shaker-style knob on my lathe. If you're interested in more detail for how I do that, I'll include a link in the video card above. Well, it's mildly irritating to be reminded of a lesson that you have already learned, and that is when you're making custom designs, have your key hardware components in hand before you complete the design based on the real measurements. In this case, I wanted to make a mirror cabinet for the change room of the sauna. So I found on Amazon a 14 by 18 inch mirror, ordered that, and while it was on its way from Amazon, built the cabinet. So mirror arrives, and hardly surprising, it is actually a 13.75 by 18 and an eighth inch mirror. Close enough that I think I can make it work. I had 3/8 of an inch inset. That gives me enough room for error so that I think with some shims, I can make it work. Nonetheless, you have your own voice in your head saying, I told you so, which is irritating. Now, I built this as the same way I build a normal framing panel door with just a little groove on the inside of the door. I actually need, for a mirror, I need a rabbet on the back. It's easy enough to do after the fact. I'll just cut the rabbet in the back and then drop the mirror in and then build some little clips, some trim to hold the mirror in place. So now I need to take the door off that I'd assembled just to see how things were fitting, and I will mill the rabbet in the back of the door. So if I push the mirror to one side, measure the gap, it's a shade less than 3/4 of an inch on each side. So what I'm going to do is just rip a 5/16 inch thick strip that I can stick in on each side. Yeah. Work. So there you have it. Peg rail for hanging robes and towels, a mirrored cabinet with a little display of the 2020 coins. They're featured on the sign out front, and a false back that hides the electrical panel. So that pretty much wraps up the video series for the Timberframe sauna build. When the weather warms up, I will probably put in a tile floor, but that's going to have to wait a few months. And for now, we just enjoy it. So thanks for following along.